Welcome to the Bushido Gang. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's AttackonSamurott, bringing you all my first team building guide in a long time for Pokemon Showdown. So, I did promise that once we hit that sub goal that I would be doing more team building guides, and here we are. So, I just want to mention one thing before I start the guide, is that I will only be focusing on one Pokemon in one tier in one gen. So yeah, I'm not gonna do like one mon in throughout all generations or whatnot, because that's just too much. So I'm only gonna focus on one, and I'll be doing that for pretty much every mon that comes through. So yeah, for the first one, we're gonna be focusing on GSC, and the mon I'm gonna be talking about is Raikou. So before we get started with this one, please make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, join my Discord, the Bushido Gang, and subscribe for some more content on the channel. All those links will be down in the description. So, first things first, what's Raikou? What does Raikou do? So Raikou does a lot of things in GSC. It's a wall, it's a phaser, and it's a sweeper, and a wall breaker, technically, but more of a sweeper than wall breaker. So Raikou's job in the tier is basically to counter Zapdos. That's it. It counters Zapdos very hard because Zapdos can't really do much back to it, and Raikou can do a lot back to it. You got Thunder, and you have HP Ice to handle Zapdos. Not only that, but Electric types in general in GSC do a lot, because I mean they cover for a lot in the metagame anyway. Because for one, you can do Bolt Beam coverage with it, so Raikou can cover for stuff like Eggy and other ground types. And yeah, Thunder in general or Electric coverage in general just hits really hard in the metagame. Not a lot of mons really take it on that well, or can really take Electric hits that well. So yeah, that's why Electric types are so good in this metagame. And again, in OU, there's only two Electric types, being Raikou and Zapdos. You can kind of count Jolteon, but Jolteon's kind of a niche. It's kind of a niche mon. Raikou does Jolteon better, pretty much. Except besides Jolteon having BP, but that's for like a different thing. Anyways, yeah, that's what Raikou does. Raikou's just a really good electric check, or electric resist. So, how does it function on teams? Well, it can function, like I said, as a wall breaker, or a wall, or a sweeper. Depending on the team, it can function as a wall. But that's for a wall, it's more on like balance and stall teams. So that's really where it shines on those kinds of teams as a wall. But offensively, this thing's really good too. So yeah, there's 4 different sets you can run with it. You have the standard set with HP Ice, or with Thunder HP Ice Rest Talk. Then you have the one with HP Water, Rest Talk. Then you have a phasing one, and then you have some other stuff you can do with it. So I'm gonna talk about this one first. Now, this set can be Thunder and Thunderbolt are interchangeable. You can run either or on this set. Personally, I think Thunder's a little bit better, since you want to be able to hit as hard as you can against Lax. So that's why Thunder is just better for that. That's why Thunder's used a lot. It's just there for Lax, but also it just covers for a lot in the metagame anyway, because GSC is a very bulky metagame. In case you don't know why, the stats are like everything is just built differently in GSC. Everything is maxed out in stats or in EVs. So it's the same thing with the RBY. That's why everything in that meta doesn't die in one hit. So yeah, same thing with GSC. So the only way you kill him in one hit is with explosion, or I guess like a crit. But yeah. So again, this variant can fit on multiple teams. Can fit on balance. Can fit on offense, and can fit on stall. I think the stall teams kind of prefer a phasing one better though, but you can still kind of get away with this one. Just that it's going to take a lot longer for you to get through games, or get through a game. But yeah, Bolt Beam coverage is really nice, because like I said already, you cover the ground types, and you also cover the grasses as well. I mean, you only cover one grass, which is Eggy, but covering the ground types is really nice. So HP Ice hits Golem, hits Rhydon, hits Nidoking, hits Steelix as well. Hits Marowak as well too. Now I'm going to show you the calc for the difference between HP Ice and HP Water. Because again, I'm pretty much doing both these sets anyway, because they're both the same. They both act the same way. It's just that one hits harder than the other, and one also takes more damage than the other too. So actually, I may as well say it now. The difference between HP Water and HP Ice is the DVs on Raikou. Raikou has 15, or I mean in Gen 1, or in Gen 1 and Gen 2, there's these things called DVs. Now, DVs go all the way up to 15 compared to how IVs go all the way up to 31. So they're a little bit different, but they're basically the same system. Basically, Raikou's hidden power is based on what DVs it has. So Raikou having less points in defense means that it'll have HP ice, while with HP water you're a lot weaker. You have 7 HP, or you have 7 DVs in HP, and you have 13 DVs in defense. So what this means is that Raikou is a lot frailer with HP water compared to HP ice. HP ice, you can actually take hits a little bit better, or the HP ice variant can take hits a little bit better, but the HP water variant can get worn down very quickly, which is why Rest Talk works better with it. Or again, running like a phase, or again, you're going offensively with it and running a phasing set. So yeah, even the phasing variant can run HP ice as well, just to let you know that. But you can run Roar with it too. And again, I'm pretty much talking about both of them. But yeah, they both work the same way. Now, you can Rest Talk on opposing Raikou and also Rest Talk on Zapdos as well. You can Rest Talk on a couple things. You can also rest up on mons that are already resting too. So for example, Snorlax, you can rest up on that and get your recovery back on that if it's already asleep. Or again, any mon that just can't hit you that well offensively. Like most special attackers like Gengar, for example, can hit you that hard. The best thing they can do is just boom. And most guards aren't going to boom until they're like very weak. Or until they feel like they can't pressure you enough, so they just commit to the boom anyway. Yeah, you rest up on that. And you can even rest up on stuff like Skarmory too that come in on Switch or whatnot, and not like they would actually come in on a Raikou, but just in general, like if they like double or something, you can just rest up and then get your recovery back. If you're running Rest Talk anyway, if you're not running Rest Talk and running the phasing one, that's a little bit harder, and I'll get into that. But yeah, in case you don't know how Rest Talk works in GSC, basically every time a Pokemon goes for rest, they have a chance, or they can Sleep Talk. And with Sleep Talk, you have a 1 out of 3 chance to reroll rest. So that means that if Raikou took chip already from something, like let's say it took chip from spikes and like an attack from something, then it has a chance to reroll rest or reroll an attack. That's a 1 out of 3 chance. Technically it's 1 out of 2, because it's more like complicated than that, because with Thunder you have to actually land. So that's 30. That's a 30% chance of you that's 70% chance of you actually landing the hit. And then there's like 30% chance of you getting the opponent getting paralyzed too. So there's a lot of odds when it comes with Thunder. HP Water, well, that's pretty much like a 1 out of 2 chance then. But yeah, Rest, you have a 1 out of 3 chance of getting. If you reroll Rest, you can bring Raikou back to full, and then also reset your rest as well. So you reset your sleep turns and whatnot. So it kind of works in your favor, but not really. But depending on where you are in the game, it could definitely hurt you. Pretty much how Raikou works for both variants. Now, one thing I will say is that the HP Water variant does get walled by a couple things. Mostly it gets walled by Eggy, which Eggy could easily take advantage of that and just pressure back. Also, you do get pressured pretty hard by Lax too, since this is less defensive, or since this has less bulk on it, so Double Edge will be doing a lot more damage to it, so will EQ as well. So you gotta be very cautious when it comes to Snorlax. One thing to really note about that thing. Outside that though, offensively you do hit a lot harder than HP Ice. So again, you hit Golem harder, you hit the ground types a lot harder, except for Nidoking. Nidoking you hit about the same with HP Ice. I'll show you right now the difference. So let me show you how much you do to Zapdos. So with HP Ice, you hit Zapdos and you hit Eggy. So you do about actually it's with Thunderbolt, which does a little bit more than HP Ice actually. But yeah, with Thunder you do 40 to 47%. In HPS you do 31 to 37%. So Thunder in the HPS is pretty nice, especially if you get a Para too. If you get a Para, then you have a chance to potentially knock them out, but also stop them from trying to get a rest off too. So you have a couple of things like that in your favor. So or you have that in your favor anyway. So yeah, it's pretty good in pressuring Zapdos. So I will say that it's like the main way you want to pressure Zapdos is by thundering it or HPIcing it. The only HPS when it's weakened, like when it's like very weak, like less than 40, then you can HPS there. You don't have to go for Thunder at that point. And most of the time they're gonna try and pivot out anyway. Now let me show you how much HP Water will do. Well, I mean HP Water is not gonna do anything, but I want to show you the difference between the bulk. Like I'm gonna show you right now. Thunder from Zapdos does 19 to 23%. So that's actually pretty strong. That's relatively strong, especially with spikes down. So you got to be aware of that. And HP Ice does 15 to 85% or 18%. So now let me show you how much HP Water does. Okay, so HP Water, well, how much Thunder is doing anyway in HP Ice. So HP Ice and Thunder and HP Ice do a lot more to HP Water Raikou than HP Ice Raikou. You do like a good percentage or two more. So that definitely can matter in some long-term games. So yeah, HP Water didn't do that much back, and neither does, or Thunder does about the same anyway. So not much of a difference in terms of power, but you definitely take a lot more damage. So that's what makes this thing kind of it's good. It's very good offensively. It's very good offensively, but defensively, this is not that great. So you got to play it very cautiously with this thing. Now let me show you how much. Now let me show how much of a difference it is in what you do to Golem. And also Steelix as well. So HP Water, you actually can kill Golem, especially with spikes down. But without spikes, it's still a 2 kill anyway. But they're going to be very, very low. So and most of the time, Golem is going to be in on spikes, or it's going to be in with spikes down. So because it wants to try and remove spikes anyway, from like Cloister or from Fortress. They've already taken chip, which means that once you land HP Water, they pretty much die, especially if you haven't revealed it yet. Which is why. You want to try and keep that like in your back pocket. You want to try and keep that HP Water under wrap. HPI still does half that, less than half actually. It does like 40 to 48. Yeah, 40 to 47%. That's how much HPI does to it. So it's still good damage with spikes down. But HP Water has better odds in killing. HPI just has like better odds of being a 2 KO. Slightly better odds of being a 2 KO. That's the difference really. Now I can show you how much you do to Steelix. I should also show Rhydon as well, but Rhydon is like something you don't really see that often. You rarely see Rhydon. But yeah, HP Ice to Steelix does 20 to 24%. These things don't really have good SPDF anyway, but still, that's still decent damage anyway. That's still pretty decent. They do force you out with EQ, however. But yeah, HP Water though, the HP Water variant does 41 to 48%. So that's doing a lot more damage compared to HP Ice. So pretty much, if this thing gets chipped continuously by spikes and whatnot, you can wear it down. So pretty much the same rate as how much you're doing to Golem with spikes down. So that's just something to really note. Also, they do a lot more damage to you anyway. But again, that's not really too much of a big deal because you're never seeing it on Steelix unless it's already been weakened. Then you can stay in on it. So yeah, it's not hard to it's really not that hard to weaken Steelix because you can phase it to make it take more more spike chip. And you can also just like hit it with something else too. So it's not hard to hit this thing. Really not hard to chip it either. Now the phasing set. So the phasing set pretty much the only difference between Sleep Talk and this one is that you can't the re-rolling. And also the way how you use sleep. Your opponent sleeping, really. Or before your opponent can sleep. Or on something that Raikou can pressure, I'll say. Well actually if you can pressure, you just keep hitting it honestly. You only rest when you need to, or again on more passive things. So for example, you can rest on, again, resting on Zapdos isn't that bad because most of the time they're going to be resting anyway. So you can rest on that. You can rest on a Snorlax that's going to sleep too, so you can rest up on that and make them waste turns. You can rest on Skarmory, you can rest on Gengar, but that one's kind of weird too, especially on the other boomers too, because I mean like if they're already weak and they're gonna boom anyway, you gotta be very cautious when you rest with Gengar or when you rest on Gengar or any other special attackers because they can just pressure you. But yeah, the Roar variant is pretty dangerous because this thing can just get momentum straight up by just phasing. So you want to phase on things that are already asleep. So for example, if Snorlax is already asleep, you can phase that, or if it's about to go to sleep, you can phase that. You could phase like things that can't really hit you that hard anyway. You could phase opposing Raikou to make them take more chip, which is definitely one of the ways you want to beat Raikou anyway. You want to phase that mon out. You want to phase as much as you can with spikes down, which is why spikes are so important in this metagame. But you want to hit that. You want to be able to phase that. Also, another thing to note is that if you're running the phasing set, you can either go Thunderbolt or Thunder. I think Thunderbolt's better because that's more consistent. That's very consistent. You want to be able to, hit things and not miss, especially when you're phasing. So I think this is way better. Now the damage is definitely noticeable though, because you're gonna be doing a lot. You're gonna be doing a lot less damage to like Raikou, and even Zapdos as well. Like 31 to 37%. So that's a very big difference. So you can hit Zapdos. Zapdos will still be pressured. But again, if you're running the HBI's variant, then you can just keep doing that anyway. Just keep spamming Thunderbolt. You'd have to go off of Paras too if need be. About a 3 KO if you're lucky. Again, for Zapdos though, like as long as you're chipping it, it's good enough anyway. Now what sucks about Thunder is that you're not gonna be able to get you're not gonna be able to get like kills without Thunderbolt or without Thunder. Like for example, when it comes to something like Starmie can actually take Thunderbolt really well or fairly well and be able to recover up from it. Not like that's a mod you really want to like switch into, or not, that's not a mod that Starmie's really going to switch into. But still, it's just the fact that Starmie dies to Thunder while Thunderbolt doesn't kill it. Like I'll show you right now. Starmie takes 77 to 91%. So with spikes down, that has a pretty good chance of dying. But without spikes down, you're not killing it. Still, it's more consistent though. Again, this set's really effective with spikes down. So once spikes are down, you just pretty much get going with Thunderbolt in HP Ice. You can even go HP Water too, because that's even more dangerous since you just keep spamming HP Water on the grounds too. Yeah, you also have Rest there too to keep this thing healthy. So again, you want to rest up on things that are already resting, or rest up on things that can't really do much to you anyway. And then just try and bring it out, or bring it in to waste more turns and try and wake up. Now again, like I already mentioned with Sleep Talk, you have the chance to re-roll Rest. When you're just running Rest by itself, then you have to wake up in 3 turns. That could definitely be difficult in some situations. So you gotta play it. You gotta play Rest pretty smart. Sleep Talk, you can just spam Sleep Talk as much as you want. Well, not really. You don't want to do it that much, especially if you're in a long-term game. You definitely want to rest when it's necessary. So I'll say that. Now the other options that Raikou has, you can go Toxic, Reflect, or Crunch. This works better, or this is better on variants like these. You don't really want to change up Bolt Beam or Bolt Water with Toxic, Reflect, or Crunch, in my opinion. I definitely think you have more freedom. You have more freedom with the phasing set and running Crunch or running Toxic or Reflect. Reflect is better. I think Reflect is better if you're not running Roar. Like if you're running Reflect, then you could probably drop Roar. If you're running Toxic, you have to either drop HPS or Roar. Toxic is good since you can just start pressuring opposing grounds and also pressure Zapdos even better too. Not even better. You force it to rest, which is still good, but you can catch Lax as well. So it's not bad, but you just have to have another way to hit ground types. So probably pairing it with like multiple waters or just a bulky water. Like for example, you could probably pair it with Suicune. Crunch is an odd one. Crunch you could probably fit on maybe. I haven't tried this yet, but you probably could try it on a 3 attacking set. That might be something. I don't know. I actually don't know. Somebody in the comments let me know if you could try a 3 attacking Raikou, because that actually sounds interesting. Just like thinking about it, because you have 3 coverage options. You have Bolt Beam, you have Bolt Beam, and then you have Bolt Beam or Bolt Water, and then you have Crunch. Crunch is there really just for dropping Spadef, because that would make Raikou hit even harder with Thunderbolt or even with Thunder. So that's why Crunch is really there. You do hit Gengar and you do hit Jinx for a decent chunk, and also hit Eggy as well. So that actually is kind of a way to get around HP Water if you want, or to add HP Water with Dark coverage. So that way you can actually hit Eggy. That's just an option, really. It's optional. Crunch probably do a decent chunk anyway to Egg too. Because I mean HPS is like what? How much did HPS do to Egg? HPS is 37 to 43. With Crunch you do 42 to 49. That's not bad actually. With Spikes down, that's actually decent. And you have the chance to drop it Spadef too. So that can work. That can definitely work. Again, this is more like if you don't want to run Rest, you could do that. But I think Rest is just too important on Raikou. I do. You need something that can take on Zapdos and Raikou at the same time. And that's your own Raikou. So I don't really recommend going Raikou without Rest. But if you feel confident enough to do it and get around Raikou, then go ahead. But I don't really think it's that great. I don't think it's that great without Rest, but again, that's just my opinion anyway. On the bright side, you do phase it though, so you still get momentum out of it. So you can run 3 attack Roar. Yeah, Reflect is better on more balanced teams, so you could put that over Roar as well, like I already mentioned. Pretty much help out the team. So you could take Reflect to boost your defenses and take on Lax a little bit better too, and other physical attackers. So yeah, it's not too bad. Definitely not bad. Now, what does this mon really pair with? You can pair it with Cloyster, Eggy, Skarmory, Nidoking, Lax, a whole bunch of things you can pair it with. Because I mean, Raikou is one of the most splashable mons in GSC OU. Like, it's very, very splashable. You can fit it on pretty much any playstyle. You can fit it on balance, offense, and stall. It works very well on stall because you can pair it with Skarmory to take on Lax, and pretty much that's just one of the main cores you'd have in GSC, or I mean for stall and balance teams. Cloister pair with Raikou. Pretty much if you're pairing Cloister with Raikou, you're pairing with something else too. Like Eggy, which again I'll get into. But Cloister, what Cloister does is it provides spike support and spin support and boom as well. It also naturally can take on physical attackers too. So because of its high defense stat, so you can actually take Earthquake from something like Nidoking and be able to keep it around for later if you want. Yeah, taking Earthquake from the ground types is really nice for Cloister. And again, just provides a free spike on their switch too. So you get momentum with that pretty easily. Also another thing is that with Raikou, you do have a nice core with it, so you can take on Zapdos too. Because Cloister's easiest switching, or the easiest switching in the Cloister, actually that's a pretty, well, the easiest switching in the Cloister if it's going for spikes is going to be Zapdos, or an electric in general. Something faster than it is always going to come in. Your only switching would be Zapdos, or your only switching would be, your only switching would be Raikou in that sense, since Raikou can take on Zapdos in all variations of it. So yeah, that's what makes that a really good core. Then we have Eggy. So Eggy is a ground resist, which is what Raikou likes. And also, it covers for Raikou's checks as well. You cover for Nidoking fairly well since you could take Ice Beam. But you don't want to like come in on it after taking a Spike. You don't really want to do that. You rather come in like for free if you can. Don't want to like try and double with it. Technically, you can double with it if you're fighting HP Water Raikou. But outside of that, though, you don't really want to double around with Eggy. But yeah, Eggy can do a lot pair with Raikou because, like I said, it's an electric resist. And Eggy covers everything Raikou's weak to. It covers the ground types, it covers the water types as well. And you pretty much get a lot out of Eggy. You can thief it, you can thief with it, you could sleep powder with it, you could psychic, boom, fire, or Giga with Eggy. Since Eggy hits everything in the meta really hard. Giga does a lot to Cloister, probably kills it. You have HP Fire for Fortress, you have Psychic, which hits Gengar, you have Giga for Golem, Psychic for Hair Switch, HP Fire, even Giga's enough for that, Psychic, Giga, boom, Psychic, like, you hit everything. That's why Eggy's so good. It's a good breaker. Very, very good breaker for switching the momentum in your favor. You can do a lot with this thing. It's so solid. It's such a solid mon. Now, a Thief variant can actually kind of help out Eggy, or can help out Raikou a bit, because you get to remove lefties. And removing lefties from something that Raikou can hit is really nice. Like, very, very nice. So you want to take advantage of that if you can, if you're running a Thief variant. Then we have Skarmory. So like I already said, Skarmory and Raikou form a nice defensive core already. Since you can use it to take on, or since you can use it as a ground immunity. So you can use that for a ground immunity and also take on Lax. Now it covers the curse variants really well, but you do have to fear like Body Slam, or you do have to fear Fire Lax with fire coverage, or Thunder Lax, or Thorlax is what they call it. So you got to be aware of that. But outside of that, though, Skarmory can take on Curse Lax very well and just curse up and phase it out. But yeah, again, more importantly, this is a ground immunity, so this works really well with Raikou. And that's what forms a lot of the defensive cores. Raikou and Skarmory pretty much are their own defensive core right there. Another thing to note is that Skarmory is a phaser too. So when you have two phasers, or if you're running two phasers like with Raikou and Skarmory, then you get a lot of pressure in going with that. So you just keep phasing with that thing. Now the common set that people like to use with this thing is like Curse Drill Peck, Whirlwind Rest, or you could go like Toxic Curse, Whirlwind Rest, or whatnot. But yeah, sometimes you don't need Drill Peck. You can just curse up and then just wall Lax as much as possible. That's how Skarmory and Raikou work together. They have very natural synergy. They may have Nidoking. So Nidoking from an offensive perspective works pretty well with Raikou. They don't form a defensive core at all since they're both weak to the same things. But what Raikou does for Nidoking is that it removes waters. And that's what Nidoking likes. Nidoking likes waters being removed or being chipped enough so that way it can kill with EQ or Thunder. A lot of the time, but yeah, Nidoking, if you're running it as a lead, which is pretty much like what a lot of Nidoking teams are, they're like lead Nidoking. What you do with it is that you can thief with it or lovely kiss the opposing lead. So thiefing is good because you get to remove lefties, and that also helps out Raikou. And removing lefties in general from a mon that Raikou can hit's really good, like I've already mentioned with Eggy. You also have Lovely Kiss too, which Raikou could take advantage of as well. Get momentum on that that Slipmon if need be. But yeah, Love the Kiss Thief is nice with Nidoking. Or again, Love the Kiss 3 attack is good too. So you get a lot of momentum with that. Nidoking helps out Raikou by also removing by also pressuring the opposing ground types, since like I said, Nidoking is a mixed attacker and mixed attackers are really good. So having Ice Beam to hit the to again hit opposing grounds, and Thunder as well to hit the opposing waters is really good, and EQ as well for opposing Raikous as well, or for opposing Raikou. Yeah, again, a lot of the time you're gonna be hitting this thing, or hitting with this thing a lot. So yeah, Ice Beam EQ is really good coverage, like very, very solid coverage for this metagame. Then last we have Lax. Lax can do anything. Lax can do anything. You can, if you're running Raikou with this thing, there's a lot you can do with it. You can run Curse, Double Edge EQ, since Raikou covers for Skarmory and other things that Lax doesn't like. So again, Zapdos as well, it covers for that. You have Raikou for that. Raikou can cover for that pretty well. But you can also run like Double Edge Flamethrower too, which is there for covering for Skarmory and also covering for Steelix. Mostly for covering Skarmory though. Steelix is good too, but most of the time you'll have something else to hit with that. Curse Double Edge is way better though. Or Curse Double Edge EQ is way better. You could even go Curse Double-Edge, like, Sleep Talk if you want. But with that, you have to run Tar to Pursuit Trap Gengar. Yeah, outside of that, I think Double-Edge EQ is good it's a good pair with Raikou. Especially a phasing one, too. Defensively, Lax is just another electric switch-in. It can still take Thunder from Raikou and from Zapdos, but it's got to be aware of Spikes, too. Because with Spikes, that's doing like 42%. Or around 42%. So that could definitely be dangerous in some situations. Especially if they keep landing, too, and you have the crit chance, too. Because I'm going to say it right now, in GSC, crit chances are pretty high because the games are very long. Again, like an average game would probably be like 70 turns. And that's being generous. Like an average game is like 70 turns. But games can go even further than that too. Now we have Zapdos. So Zapdos and Raikou work very well together as an offensive core because it's double electric, man. Electric spam, that's free. That's so free. You thunder everything. And you could also switch up the hidden powers too. So you can run one with HP Ice and one with HP Water, or vice versa. So yeah, they work very nicely together on some offensive builds. Pretty much, yeah. If you're running Zapdos and Raikou, you're running that on offense. Nidoking, same thing. You're running that on offense, and same with Eggy. Closer, you can run both, or you can run it on like 3. You can run it on balance, or on offense, balance, or stall. Eggy's better on offense. Skarmory's better on balance and stall. Nidoking's better on offense. Last can fit every style. And Zapdos, like I said, is better on offensive builds. Now, Zapdos also is a ground immunity too, so that's what Raikou likes too. Raikou likes ground immunities, so having that is very, very key. And again, offensively, you pressure everything with spikes down too. So, with spikes on or off the field. Again, you still hit Lax pretty hard with Thunder too. And again, you can switch between HP Ice or HP Water depending on what you want Raikou to do. I think if you're running it with Zapdos, you could also make it a phaser too if you want. So you can make Zapdos the phaser, you can make Raikou the phaser. I think Zapdos being a phaser is better than is better on electric spam than it being like a Sleep Talk variant, because then you're just losing momentum at that point. May as well go for Whirlwind to just phase, because you have Raikou to take on the opposing electric type. That's how Zapdos works. And we have Golem. So Golem, they're both weak to the same stuff. But Golem is an electric community, so that kind of helps a little bit. Golem provides spin support and phasing support, so you could use it for that. You also have EQ as well too, so EQ for hitting opposing Raikous and whatnot. Boom is also nice too, because you want momentum for Raikou, so you want to just push momentum as much as you can. You never want to boom early with Golem though. Golem is a situational boom. You only boom when you need to. That's how Golem really works. Not really too much to say about it. It's pretty much set in stone what that mon does. But yeah, good electric community. Very good electric community. Then we have Heracross. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention, Golem can fit on pretty much all styles, but I think it's better on balance and stall than offense. Again, like I said, it can fit on all 3 styles. Then we have Heracross. So Heracross is a ground resist, and Raikou loves ground resist. What this does is that, or what Raikou provides for Heracross is that Raikou removes Skarmory, and Skarmory is Heracross's biggest threat. So being able to hit that means Heracross is in a very good position to win most games. Also, another thing to note is that Heracross can check Nidoking. That's one thing. That's a very important thing to note. Because with the curse Sleep Talk set, you pretty much can sit up on that thing for free, forcing it out. So you get chip on whatever will come in. So it makes this thing that's what makes this thing pretty dangerous. There's some other options you can do with it too. You don't have to run just Mega Horn. You can run like HP Fighting too, to cover for like anything else. But yeah, Again, Curse Sleep Talk is kind of what Heracross is known for, but you can still like do some other stuff too, like in like Mega Horn plus HP fighting and whatnot. But yeah, this mon can do quite a bit. It's a very fun mon, very fun mon. You can even run Thief. Actually, I didn't even know that you can run Thief on this thing to actually take items from things too, because Heracross is always going to force out switch-ins, especially if there's no resist to it. Then you get a free Thief. So Thief Heracross might be a thing. Maybe. Again, this mon hits everything that's here. So once Raikou gets its kill with Skarmory, then it's pretty much set to go. So yeah, it's a very dangerous mon. This mon fits very well on offense. So I do have some examples already. So I have let's see, I'll go through some of my teams already. This is a team that Zakuro made. If you don't know who Zakuro is, he's basically a really well-known or a known player in GSC. And also in other metas as well, but he's very good in GSC. He invented this double stall team, or this double spin team with Fortress plus Tentacruel. But yeah, on this team, he's running Raikou as a Sleep Talk user. So want to have a way to handle Zapdos, and Zapdos is definitely a threat to this team, and also Raikou as well. So having Raikou to cover for that's nice, and you have Skarmory there too, which Skarmory provides the ground immunity which this team needs, because this team does not like Earthquake very much. So yeah, and also doesn't like, double edge EQ lax either, since double edge EQ lax pretty much beats most teams anyway. Pretty much that. Not really much else to say about what it does, besides really just add spike support. But yeah, that's what this does. Then we have there's another like HP, another like Thunder HP Water one. So on these kinds of builds, when you're running HP Water, you're running it because you want to hit Golem and you want to hit Tar and all the other ground types. So that's why HP Water is better on this kind of build. You could go HP Ice, but then you're going to get like messed up by you're not going to be able to hit Nidoking as hard as you want, or as hard as you need to, and also Golem too. And Golem gets a free spin on you not all the time, but it can definitely like be annoying. I'll say that. But yeah, gotta be aware of that. And again, this one is Thunder too. So again, Thunder variants. I think I have one with phasing. Yeah, there's one with phasing. So here's a Psychic Stall. So this one you just phase with it. So you phase to get momentum. There's already spikes down too, so you just spike down and just keep pressuring with phase, or keep pressuring with roar. So there's that. Again, the Bolt Beam covers to pressure Zapdos and pressure everything else, and then just phasing to keep the momentum going. So yeah. That's how that one works. And then there's another one I have. I think there's an offensive one. Here's the one. Okay, so this is one that I got from my boy Cherry. Cherry Bong. He passed me this team a long time ago. This team is an offensive team, pretty much relying on the power of Zapdos and Raikou together. Skarmory's here just for phasing, and again does wall lax. So this is one of the occasions where you can run Skarmory on offense. And for me personally, I just find it weird, but you can run it on offense, but it's just really weird to me. I'm not really too much of a fan of it, but yeah, you can just curse up with this thing and just start phasing. You can also chip things down too with Drill Peck as well. Yeah, this Raikou variant's running Thunderbolt plus HP Water, which can work on this offensive team, since again you're pretty much getting momentum as soon as you bring this in. So yeah, you just keep phasing once spikes are down, then you just keep the momentum just going really. Of course, you do have to be a little bit cautious of Zapdos. But again, you can switch into Lax or even Raikou, so you can double between these two, or even go Golem as well. So yeah, that's why you want to have at least like one ground immunity on your team, or one electric immunity on your team, so you can at least like, you don't have to like have Lax and Raikou be your only switch-ins. You have Golem as well, or you have some ground immunity or some electric immunity as well. So I mean to say, so yeah, pretty much Raikou's there for the momentum and just carries. So this is more like an end game, or this could be more like a mon you can use in the end game, in an end game scenario. So yeah, even cycle through Raikou, or even cycle through Zapdos as well. Technically, rest Raikou can take on Zapdos too, like just by resting in general, because I mean you're always gonna like force it out too and waste a turn. Yeah, you can also phase as well. So again, you waste at least 2 turns with this thing. So which means you can wake up a lot sooner too. Then we have another one with the BKC Hera Electric. So this one is another offensive team. So this one's more of a take on Boom offense with electric spam. So this is the one that has HP. This is the HP Water Zapdos. So this one pressures ground types even harder. You have better odds in killing Golem and killing Steelix as well. We're not killing Steelix, but definitely just better odds of killing Golem. So you just pressure that really hard. Again, Thunderbolt, Water, T-Wave phasing. So get the phasing with this and just start or two-way things, and then just start phasing, and then just apply pressure with Thunder plus HP Water, and then Raikou just, you know, your way to take on Zapdos, and just you're like comfortable switching to that. Golem provided for the phasing, and again closer for the spike pressure and whatnot, and the lead as well. Yeah, just keep phasing with this thing and spinning to Lax for boom, and then Heracross to break things. And again, you have these two. You have these two which pressure Lax and pressure Zapdos. But yeah, with opposing Raikou though, you'd have to use Lax kind of, or again pivot between Golem too, like pivot between Golem and Lax. But outside that though, you pretty much it would just be like a stalemate between opposing Raikou and or between your Raikou and the opposing Raikou. Then I have an electric spam one or another, and then I have my own electric spam with Thief Gar, so you can thief opposing Gar leads or opposing Gar, or not thief opposing Gar, but just thief things that want to come in on Gar. That way you get momentum early. So you get momentum from that and just start pressuring with that. So or pressure with the electrics, I mean. So yeah, this one's an old one because I have HP Ice on both of these. You don't really need HP Ice on both of them. I could probably just go Whirlwind with Zapdos and then just put HP Water. We have another one with Taiga's version or Taiga's team. So this one, shout out Taiga, also known as a Dio. So this one has 2 ground resists, so you have Heracross and Eggy, which can take on Golem and take on Rhydon as well, and even take on Steelix. Mostly Eggy can take on Steelix more than Heracross can, but yeah, you have 2 ground resists, which is good, and also Cloyster as well. Got the HPS one, so HPS to handle Zapdos still, and also pressure Eggy too. But yeah, mostly for covering Zapdos. For Raikou, you do have Eggy, which can check it, and also Lax as well. Of course, this one's a boomer as well, so again, just a boom offense with it. So got to play it pretty cautiously, but yeah, this one has Fire Blast, which is there for covering for Steelix and also covering for Skarmory, but mostly for Skarmory. So you kind of just spam Fire Blast or curse up on their double or curse up on their switch, and then just apply pressure with Body Slam at that point. Force them to either boom or force them to force your opponent to attack you, or again you force damage on them. Oh, and there's like some stall variations so you can run with this. So again, another like roaring variant with Suicune on it. So you could probably put like Roar over this one if you want, since you already got Toxic Pressure from Lax, and from Mischievous, or even you could put Toxic on Skarmory too. So there's a lot of things you can do with this. It's very customizable. It's very customizable when it comes to these kinds of stall builds. That's pretty much a rundown of how you use Raikou. Now I do have a game, but I don't know how long I'm gonna be able to show it off. But I'll show off one game, showing you like what Raikou does. So here's my team. I'm running Electric Spam, and he's running Electric Spam as well. I think this was a game I had right before I took my break. But yeah, again, my opponent had Electric Spam, while I also had Electric Spam too. What Raikou does here, like I already said, just to give you guys a visualization, is that Zapdos is going to be checked by Raikou. And my opponent knows that, and I know that as well. So that's why I switched out Raikou, and he switched out Raikou. Or that's why I switched out Zapdos into Raikou, and he switched out his own Zapdos into Raikou. So what I can do here is go for Thunderbolt, as he's going to go for Thunder there. So he does reveal Thunder, and Thunder being 21% does show that he thinks I'm probably HP Water after seeing that damage, because that's a lot of damage coming off of Thunder. So yeah, I will reveal later on in the game that I am HP Water, but not yet. Go Lax here, as he doubles into Steelix, and I go for a Double Edge on their switch. So Double Edge is doing a decent chunk to Steelix. Now I'm going to say this right now. About this Lax. This Lax is a Fire Lax, and Fire Lax for this team doesn't really work. This was actually right before I made the edit. So going back to that Cherry Bomb team, because that is the team I actually used in this video, or I used in that game. That one was Flamethrower, but this one, like after the game, after I finished that game, I remember changing it right to Earthquake, because Earthquake is just better. It's just better, because I mean I already have enough things that can hit Steelix. Or not Steelix, hit Steelix. So that's the only reason why I have it there, and also hit Skarmory too. Like Skarmory just gets dunked on by Zapdos and Raikou. Flamethrower was kind of a mistake, looking back on it. Cloyster's gonna be the switch in. Golem's gonna be the switch in after Roar. Then I go back into Cloy as he goes for his own Cloy. I go for Toxic here first, or I go for Toxic as he goes for a Spike there. So I get Toxic off on there to get some chip, get a Spike there. And then he goes for Toxic and misses. Get some chip there on the, or get some chip from Toxic there. Doubles in Lax as I go for a Surf. The Surf there, Zapdos doubled in as I go Lax there. And then doubles back into Steelix as I go for Double Edge again. Doubles back into Cloyster as he goes for a Roar. And back in and brings in Zapdos as Raikou's going to be the switch in as I go for HP Water on their switch. So back in Raikou to cover for it. So again, this is what Raikou does. Raikou covers Raikou. Raikou covers Zapdos. They cover each other. Which is why in this scenario, well, one, he's doing more to me than I'm doing to him. because again, this is a again, mine is HP water. I go for a roar here, so I do reveal my set to be roar. Zapdos is going to be the switch, as Lax is going to be the double, and I go for a Thunderbolt here. Now Thunderbolt's free on Lax in that, and on Zapdos in that situation, because Zapdos can only do Thunder, and you don't want to waste Thunder. You don't want to waste Thunder, especially this early on in the game. So Thunderbolt's free there on Lax, as I force him to go for Rest. Yeah, I force him to go for Rest, or he attacks me. But yeah, he has to go for Curse here, so he curses here. Goes for the Curse. I could Boom here, or I could Surf, which Surf is way better to catch Gengar. But he just stays in, goes for Double Edge, does a lot to my Cloyster, but he's taking a little bit of chip too. And now I could either force a Boom or just go for Surf here on Gengar, which I do go for the Surf on Gengar because that covered the switch anyway. And again, I didn't need a Boom. I don't need a Boom this early, because again, this is only turn 20. A lot of games like these long games in GSC, you don't need to Boom so early. You only Boom when you need to. So in this situation, I didn't need to Boom, because Lax is gonna be weakened enough to where Thunder can kill it off, or again, I have Golem, which is faster than it too. So there's ways around his team. There are multiple ways around his team. Now Gengar was actually a problem for my team, I remember, because this thing actually kind of messed me up quite a bit. Yeah, Hypnosis is gonna be the move to come into. Hypnogar was my only switch, or Hypnogar and the Raikou was my only switch there. In this situation, I think Lax was actually the better switch. I think Lax was the better switch. I didn't really think about it then. I didn't. I thought Raikou was the better switch, but my Raikou doesn't have Sleep Talk. So letting this go to sleep was actually a misplay looking back on it. So you never want Roar Raikou to go to sleep. You never do. You never want to go to sleep unless you're running Sleep Talk Rest Roar, which is not a set. It's not a set. It's not. You never want to do that. But yeah, never let your one mon that can't sleep go to sleep, because this is a mon you don't want to let go to sleep. So you want to let your sleep talkers go to sleep. So that's why Lax is a better switch in, or even Zapdos. Zapdos is a little bit is a little iffy though. You rather let Lax go to sleep. So that was a misplay on my end, and because of that, I kind of get punished for it. Luckily, I'm able to get back though, because I do force him to rest, and I get to rest up as well. Actually, I phased him here. Yeah, I phased him here because I didn't want him staying in here. But Gengar's gonna be the switch in, and I can either just attack him or just switch. But yeah, I do switch and go Lax here and let that go to sleep. But now he goes back into the Raikou there. So yeah, he goes Raikou there, and then doubles back into Steelix. And this is where I reveal Flamethrower as he goes for the Roar. So I Flamethrower here. He's forced out now, or he forces me out, and then I bring in Raikou. Or then Raikou's forced in, which means I get to reveal HP Water and I get to kill him. So I killed the Steelix there. Steelix dies. And yeah, this is why this thing's very dangerous. Because in an endgame scenario like this, or in a scenario like this where you get rid of the steel or get rid of the ground type, then you get momentum early, or you get a lot of momentum off that. So that means my opponent is forced to go into Steelix, or forced to go into the Raikou, or go back into Lax. So yeah, he does go Lax there, and I could either Thunderbolt this or just phase this. Granted, it's a little bit risky because he has to get reroll. He has to reroll to get Double Edge or whatnot. But yeah, he just wastes a turn there, and I can just go for a spin here. As closer is going to be the switch in to take Spike plus the poison. Which, by the way, you take poison damage on the initial turn. You don't take it the turn after. So yeah, EQ there, in case you want to stay in with Lax, but Lax never stays in on Golem. But yeah, he does double back on my Raikou switch because I'm not trying to stay in on that. Or I could have went Zapdos there too. Zapdos probably was a better play anyway. But yeah, go Skarmory here to reveal it. Goes for the Curse or goes for the EQ with Lax, and I can just phase this out. So like I said, Skarmory can work on offense too. It's just not seen that much, but it can work. Anyways, I go for a Toxic Miss, and Thunder there on Lax. Thunder doing a lot to me. Flamethrower there, in case you want to go Gengar. And yeah, Thunders again, and Thundered again. Now, I'm going to say this right now. I don't think you should ever let Lax take that much damage from Zapdos. I don't think it's worth it. Like, Lax took too much damage, and I ended up putting myself in a position to where I had to just spam Flamethrower on this Gengar, which was not it. That was not it. That's why Flamethrower is kind of a hit or miss for Lax, because it's really good for hitting steals. At the same time, you're not doing as much damage as you would have liked. Niku's still decent damage for Steelix anyway, but the problem is that, you know, well, it's not really a problem. It's more like you have Electric that hits Skarmory, so you don't really need to invest in a Flamethrower when you hit these mons anyway with Lax or with Cloyster plus EQ anyway. So that's enough. But yeah, Flamethrower again, or rest there, try to get a Flamethrower off, and I think I got it here. Nope, Double Edge, never mind. Double Edge. Trying to get it again. Also, another thing to note is that you never want to you never want to waste like rest or sleep talk, because sleep talk can be an end game scenario too. You want to try and have as many of those as you can. So it's better to just like waste rest when you're facing something like Gengar, or even facing something like Raikou, because it's not going to do that much damage to you. Granted, you have to like pray for you have to hope that they don't crit you either. But yeah, that's what makes those scenarios pretty dangerous. Yeah, Gengar's back at 69%. Golem's in here as he goes for Thunderbolt. So I was pretty much like forcing him to go for Thunderbolt, or forcing him to keep going for Thunderbolt, because Ice Punch won't kill Golem from this range anyway. So I get a free EQ or I get a free spin. So instead I made a double, which was a very odd play. Oh wait, no. I made the double in the Cloister because I guess then I was expecting him to just go for Hypnosis, or no. I guess maybe it might have been an expectation for this thing to go for Hypnosis again, because Hypnosis is free on Golem. Well, it's not really free, it's risky. It's very risky, because if you miss, then you die to EQ. Or I guess in my favor, I guess going Cloister was still a better play anyway, because Cloister didn't do anything. Once he got Spikes down, it was over. And he has no way to remove hazards. So Lax is in here, and he goes for Ice Punch there. And pretty much Gengar is going to keep Ice Punching, as I can potentially get a Rest or a Flamethrower. And I do get Flamethrower there. So you get the Flame there. And goes for Thunderbolt again, gets a crit there too, and I try to get it again or reroll to Rest, and I get Double Edge instead. So Double Edge there, Thunderbolt there, Ice Punch is there to try and freeze me. I get a Rest up, goes for Ice Punch again, and now pretty much I force him into a point where he has to go for Boom, and I get the Flamethrower there again, which is doing like decent, but again it's not enough. I go Raikou here, thinking that he'd switch out, but nope, he's gonna keep Thunderbolting. So he Thunderbolts it again, and now I could Rest here if I want. So Rest is free. And he does go Lax there, but I think I Thunderbolt or Phase. Yeah, Thunderbolt again. Always Thunderbolt there. Never Phase on Gengar. It's not worth it. Because, I mean, they could either Boom there, or again, like, you lose momentum. So it's better just to keep attacking when you're fighting Gengar. Because you're faster than it too, and Thunder can potentially kill it. So there's that. But yeah, Zapdos comes in on the Raikou, expecting the Skarmory double. Then back in Lax, taking Thunder again. And yeah, again, don't do what I'm doing. This is like, I mean, Lax is always safe, but in a situation like this where I'm taking too much damage, it's still pretty risky too. So I also have to like hope I break out too. But yeah, that's doing so much damage. 20, like again, how much is it? 27 to 32%. That's still a lot from Zapdos. And also I have to hope that he misses or whatnot, or not kill me. But yeah, he didn't kill me. He landed, did 30, and it wasn't enough. So I barely lucked out on that. And now he forces in Gengar on my sleep. And if I get Flamethrower, I get Chip on him too. But I just wasted a turn there instead. Goes for Ice Punch there. And trying to get a Flamethrower again, or just Rest to waste turns. Thunderbolt's there. And then I think I got it here. Yep, I got it there. Did 38%. 44 now. And now I'm going to say this right here. This was the moment I actually lost this game, because I let Lax die. I actually do let Lax die at some point here. But yeah, Flamethrower again. He's at 22. And when they're low, they're going to boom. So this was the play where I should have sacked Cloister, because Cloister didn't do anything. But anyways, yeah, I'm just letting you know again what Raikou did. It pretty much just walls opposing electrics. That's what it does here. But yeah, I'm gonna say this now. I lost this game because I didn't play Lax very smart. I did not. Lax was very good in the end game, but I did not play it the way I should have. So I'm gonna say that though. I'm gonna say that because I still had a Boomer left. I still had the Golem left to be able to boom on Lax if need be, or just EQ, since that's still fairly free. And my own Zapdos, and my own Raikou, and my own and even Skarmory just still phase things around too, because Skarmory just curses on this thing and just wins. So yeah. Anyways, I talked a lot, but I just wanted to let you know what Raikou does. So hope y'all enjoyed. I have no idea how long I've been talking. 56 minutes. Okay, all right, that's better than an hour. I hope y'all enjoyed my breakdown of what Raikou does and enjoyed the game as well. But yeah, that's what Raikou does, man. It's a very solid electric check, and it's very good at sweeping. Very solid sweeper, very good phaser, and yeah. Hope y'all enjoy my breakdown of what Raikou does. If y'all did and want to see more of these breakdown vids and whatnot, please make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, join my Discord, the Bushido Gang, and subscribe for some more content on the channel. And yeah, y'all got a lot of information on what Raikou does. Y'all got a lot of information in just 56 minutes. Jeez, I feel like BKC talking like this. Shout out BKC, by the way. He's the person. He's the player that really got me into getting into old gens. So I do appreciate what he's done for the community and whatnot. But yeah, I only got interested in GSC because of him. So so yeah, well, him and also the rest of the GSC community too. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the breakdown of what Raikou does in GSC, and you guys are looking forward to more of these. But yeah, that's gonna be that. Be safe, wash your hands, and peace out.